Yo, it's your boy Ancient Albatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew. We have our usual suspects of AD or Alpha Dean. We have Spigs 18 or Anthony. And just as a quick reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us here on Twitch and subscribe to us over on YouTube. It is a great help for our channel, and we really appreciate all the support we've gotten thus far. But without further ado, Dean, what are we doing here tonight?
There's this big, wonderful thing that everybody seems to be into these days called Helldivers 2. This wonderful video game that everyone is playing, talking about. There's lots of conversations going on all over the place, inspirations, all sorts of stuff like that. So what we're going to do is talk about cypherizing that particular game. You know, as we can see, you know, we didn't know at this point, but we're seeing even in the chat, people are talking about that they've done Helldivers as a Cypher game, and other people are talking about added into their products and so on and so forth. But that's what we're here for. We're going to talk about how the CU crew would basically do Helldivers in Cypher. And without, you know, as you like to say, without further ado, I'm going to smack the ball over to Anthony and let him get us started.
All right, first up, welcome back to the CU, guys. We had an interview scheduled for today, and something fell through, so we needed a topic for today's discussion. So we were just bouncing ideas around, and then we came up with this one. I don't think we'll have time to do a full breakdown of Helldivers 2. One, because I'm not fully versed in it. You know, full disclosure, I have not played the game. I read the wiki today, but I have not played the game. I was addicted to it. So we just thought it'd be a good idea to pick something and try to cypherize it. I know Dean's familiar with it, but he also hasn't played the game. So we're gonna concentrate on Al's expertise as a defender of the earth. You know, for our
Super Earth, excuse you. Firstly, it's Super Earth, not just Earth. We're defenders for Super Earth. All right.
Oh, you didn't wear your.
Oh, I actually have it. It's dirty. It's downstairs. I didn't clean it. My helmet. Yeah, Anthony
I got a T-shirt for Helldivers 2. He didn't wear it.
Oh yeah, it's dirty.
I've been playing the first one because I just wanted to see how the first one was before I jumped into the second one. So I haven't touched the second one, but probably after this stream, you know, I'll probably get into the second one myself. But
I know Dean said we were gonna Cypher. We're not gonna do the entire setting. I don't think we have time for that. We're just gonna pick Al's favorite aspects of the game, and we'll try to cypherize those things, and we'll let the community build the rest out. And I know Eric said he actually ran a stream of this, and I know KedHub is working on a supplement for his game that's using a lot of elements of Helldivers 2. So I'm pretty sure that the community together will be able to cypherize the entire thing. But we're just going to take a good crack at it. So first things first, right? Since I haven't played the game, Al, I'll tell you what I know. It's essentially Starship Troopers, but in video game form. And I know you probably haven't seen Starship Troopers or read the book, but how... If you had to describe Helldivers, like, how would you describe it?
So, Helldivers 2 is a co-op shooter where you work with your buddies to defend Super Earth against various threats. Those include bugs and also robots, automatons as they're called, or Terminids for the bugs if you want to be more specific. But yeah, the main core of the game is fighting on these planets to help liberate them in Super Earth's name. For various reasons. The game gives us little dispatches in real time from the devs, or, you know, if you're a little familiar with the game, there's a GM, so to speak, called Joel. His name is Joel, and he's pretty much the head of a council that dispatches these, like, in-game messages to us. And yeah, really what it boils down to, the gameplay loop, so to speak, is you deploy to these planets, you do your missions. There's a couple of different objective-based things to do, but really it boils down to shooting a lot of things that are trying to kill you. And then after you finish your mission, you collect, during the mission, you will collect samples or, supplies, whatever resources. You bring them back to your ship at the end and use those to upgrade your arsenal, whether it be upgrading the ship's capabilities that give you like these passive buffs, or unlocking a bigger arsenal, like more variety of weapons and armors and whatnot. As far as the story goes, it's kind of shady. So we might be the bad guys. I don't want to speak treason out there. It's a very big part of the game's I guess theme, is you don't want to speak badly about Super Earth, but the way things are framed, it's very gray area, and I'm loving it. I love what they're doing with how they're through these dispatches, basically giving us propaganda and like feeding our actions, or guiding our actions with this in-game propaganda. Or excuse me, it's not propaganda, it's literal truth from the Ministry of Truth.
Here, citizen. Listen to me, citizen. Stop it. Stop. We don't speak propaganda, citizen. You don't speak against the Empire.
Yeah, basically that, and that's basically the TLDR of it. Yeah.
Which is very much Starship Troopers. I just want to add one thing. And you correct me if I'm wrong, Al, but another thing in my understanding with the game is also your actions in game are actually overarching, that everybody kind of gets influenced by the things that are happening in the game. So the game is not static. It's not as if you're playing in one thing, or once something happens. So am I right or wrong?
Yeah. So yeah, in a way, yes. So the world is living, so to speak. When we complete objectives, the world kind of changes, because planets get liberated, and we have to go to other planets and other sectors of space. Yeah, it's a living campaign, like Eric said in the chat. And when we complete objectives or fail objectives, that progresses the story or the lore, so to speak. I'm blanking right now on any major ones that happened while I was playing, because I'll be honest, I'm focused on the gameplay. But yeah, so when we achieve goals, and harking back to what you said, as us as a community, every single person who plays Helldivers 2 works towards the same goals. And yeah, so when we get an objective, like it's called a major order, literally every single person in the world playing Helldivers 2 is helping to complete that objective if they're doing those missions. So yeah, in that way, and very much it is like a living campaign, a living world that we kind of have sway over, depending on how we succeed or fail on these objectives.
All right, so from a game, like if we were going to gamify this, right, would it make sense to, because I'm assuming that, the game is going to be lethal, correct? So we wouldn't necessarily have to have fully fleshed out PCs. It's more about the armor and the weapons that they carry, as opposed to the actual abilities of the characters. Would that make sense?
Yep. We discussed this a little bit off stream, and again, before we dive super into converting things or adapting or whatever, my first base idea for doing something like this was making everyone a soldier, or a diver, quote unquote, and that's your type. Everyone is a diver. Everyone has the same stats, whether it's 999, whatever. You figure it out. Again, we're not going to go into super technical stuff. But the important part is every single PC is the same from the get-go. And then the important thing, like you said, the armor and the weaponry is what makes each diver unique. Everybody has their preferences or whatnot. There are some stronger weapons or whatnot, but either way, that's meta. Regardless, people find their preferred playstyle and they pick those weapons. And armor. Your armor also affects your playstyle. So in Cypher System, I would go into, what I have open here, the wiki, and I would go through each of the weapons that I would want to include in my game, and then cipherize them, so to speak. And then each player, instead of having, in Cypher System, when you build a character, you go from your type and your focus, and that's how you get your abilities and whatnot. In this, instead, everyone is just choosing from their stratagems or their weapon list or their armor list, and that's how you build. There wouldn't be a sentence, so to speak, but again.
You can have the sentence, but you can just have the Cypher short characters.
Correct. Yes.
How it's very minimal. Like,
well, here's a thought, and it's just because again, I'm thinking about it being an RPG and what some of the concepts are. Why not make sure the foci have a curated list of foci, but the foci would be more in line towards like your specialty or profession. So like medics or engineering and so on and so forth. So you are a hell diver who is a medic. You are a hell diver who is an engineer. But you would, basically have a curated list like that. And that will give your characters the uniqueness. It still gives you the sentence. It's still Cypher in that respect. But you're all divers.
Looking at it, Dean, as just having 100 randomly rolled short form Cypher characters, because characters are, if I'm playing something like Starship Troopers or Helldivers, I'm expected as a player, I'm expected to die. Like, how Starship Troopers, Helldivers, the bug come eat somebody, you just grab another sheep.
Yes.
So the fun for me, and I could be wrong, right? But the fun for me, it's more meat grinder than it is like I'm worried about this character. It's more like I want to get through this game with minimal deaths, but if I get 4 or 5, it's okay.
Well, see, again, I agree with you in that respect, but I'm looking at it in the sense of kind of the same process that they used for the Alien game, the Alien RPG. They have 2 modes. They have an RPG mode where you play a character that you want to survive, and then you kind of have the meat grinder mode or the cinematic mode where you're expected to die. So we could literally set it up in both ways if you wanted to do it in that respect. So I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah, I'll just we'll talk about a quick and dirty thing, not a fully fleshed out.
I'll interject here real quick.
Yeah.
Just because of the nature of Helldivers, it can go both ways, right? Yeah. So in my head, I also went Anthony's route. It's a meat grinder. Like, we're going to be dying a lot. We want quick and dirty characters. That's why I said everyone's just a diver type, everybody's same number, whatever. But I didn't think about Cypher Shorts. That would actually be a great way to have a diverse, cast of divers for yourself and still not go too in depth with making them. But another thing, to go back to Dean's point, is because of how the lore of the world is, like, again, very gray area, and like we don't know what's the truth and like what in reality, you can play a lot with that, with fully fleshed characters. This is these would be 2 completely different kind of games. And in Dean's version, in that one, you have a specialized diver. They might be able to do things on the field that regular divers can't do, or something like that. And with that, you can play within the hierarchy of all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, like all the ministries, all like, because it's very hierarchical and like a bureaucratic, like, if that makes sense, like yeah.
It's a lot of politics and a lot of, like you said. So how about this, Anthony? Let's do it this way. You make your quote unquote specialized diver with the cool sentence and so on and so forth, but everybody has maybe 4 just regular divers, and those are the ones that you play in your quick and dirty, your crazy missions and so on and so forth, when you just want to go to the meat grinder. And those are the characters you just have sitting there, so you can recycle. One gets taken out, okay, here's my next guy, he's ready to go, he's the replacement.
But I'm not saying that it wouldn't work in a long form.
But no, I was just saying that in the other character, though, would be, he could be like the commander of that squad. He could be the squad leader or something like that, So I think it would be a interesting connectivity, and of course, I'm looking at ciphers and stuff like that, those would be, like
Let's not jump the gun. Let's do one thing at a time, because
My brain is clicking. I'm sorry. This is always ideas zone.
I will say real quick, just to touch on it before we lose track of it, before we go too far. Eric in chat is talking a little bit about how he ran his Helldivers game. And this is Eric Frankhouse, for those of you who don't know. He's a great guy, great content creator, awesome GM, so on. We love this guy. Anyways, Eric is saying that he in Helldivers 2, all the Helldivers obviously they deploy from a ship, right? So and like Anthony was really getting at, it's a meat grinder. So all these they could be just nameless divers just coming in repeatedly, and the ship is actually how Eric is running his characters. The ship is the character, so the ship has the stats, and the Helldivers are like the abilities that come out of the ship. And I guess they can only survive 2 hits, he was saying. So after 2 hits, the ship has to use resources to launch another dive. Yeah, I really like. I don't want to go too super deep into his method on that, but I really like that concept. That is an awesome idea.
That's pretty cool.
That's actually a great way of doing it too. I think that the setting is so it depends on what you want to get out of, like what part of the game you want to emphasize, right? Like what Dean is describing is, in my mind, is a role-playing game. It's like a campaign where you expect we might deal in the democratic and the actual super Earth side of things, where we could deal with the political intrigue, we could deal with the conflict between factions. We could do all actually tell a narrative within a story, and not really worried about. In my mind, I was thinking straight meat grinder. Like whoever the GM is gonna give you a scenario, and it's expected that you're gonna have 4 or 5 deaths. So like the characters are almost irrelevant. It's once someone dies, you pull another one. It's just a cinematic, explosion of body parts all over the place, and then the last character you have is the last character you have that survives. Right?
I think what you're saying, Al, is like actually it's perfect, because I just whenever we say anything, whenever somebody says we're gonna cypherize something, I always try to think about the actual element of being able to draw it out. But that's why I did mention the cinematic mode that they use for Aliens, because the Alien RPG is built like on that same kind of idea, because you don't know how like in the Alien movies there's that underlying corporate machinations and lies and so on and so forth, and then of course there's the Marines and the aliens, that's the xenomorphs. So I was just thinking about combining the 2 aspects to give you that option. That's all. But I'm saying if it was a one shot, absolutely, I would definitely, either take Eric's idea or take Al's idea, yours and Al's idea, to just meat grind. So it's like just ways to do things. That's all. My brain explodes whenever we do this.
But so which method are we doing? Because it steers the direction in which we're taking the conversation in. Because those are 2 entirely different games in my mind. Well, and I'm okay with either, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm okay with either, honestly, and something that could work for both, really, what we could do just to get the ball rolling, I guess. Something that would apply in both games is converting some of the stronger stratagems or weapons or armors or whatever into an actual Cypher item. Because in either game, we're going to need artifacts, we're going to need ciphers, we're going to need things of that nature. So wouldn't hurt to start there. That's just throwing it out there. But
okay, yeah, let's deal with that. What is tell us about the weapons, and do you have like particular favorite ones that you want to highlight and you want us to actually like start brainstorming?
So there's so many awesome weapons, so many awesome stratagems. Stratagems are really where the game gets its like shine from, because they're like things you can call down, like orbital strikes or special weaponry like rocket launchers and stuff. So I personally would start here, because it's just the more fun type stuff. Most of the other weapons are like, you know, your standard rifles. You know, there's some special ones. There's electric weapons, or it's called arc in this game. There's arc weapons. But really, what I think most people find the most quote unquote fun of this game is calling down the stratagems, which again are specialty weapons. They're orbital strikes. They're strikes from like a plane. I think it's called the Eagle One. The Eagle One flies by and drops bombs or something. Yeah, so I would personally probably start here.
So these are not individual weapons; these are ship weapons.
Yeah, so these in Helldivers 2, you start off with just your primary weapon, your secondary weapon, and your armor. Obviously, you're wearing it, and then you can call down. You get to pick 4 each game, which kind of works for Cypher because 4 abilities. You get to pick 4 of these guys, and you get to pick 4 stratagems on top of those. Oh yeah, and you start with grenades too. Thank you for that, Kez. You start with a thing of 4 grenades, or it depends on how many you start with, but you start with grenades too.
So would you? Just real quick, Al, because it's taking me back to the first game too. Couldn't we use stratagems? Wouldn't that kind of be like in line with the game because how you find them in game? We could use those like ciphers.
No, so in this one, I didn't play Helldivers 1. I played it for like maybe an hour years and years ago, and I don't remember it at all. So I don't know what stratagems are like in Helldivers 1. In Helldivers 2, they're more like artifacts, I guess. Because most of the like special guns have ammo, like, you know, that would be a depletion roll or something. Whereas things like orbital strikes, eagles might be ciphers, because they have a couple of uses before they're donezo. Like you know for sure you're gonna get 2 uses out of this and then it's done, or 1 use and it's done.
So wouldn't a stratagem wouldn't it make sense? And once again, I'm not entirely sure if this is correct. So if I'm wrong, just tell me that it's a stupid idea. But wouldn't it make sense to just stat out like similar to what Eric said? You stat out the ship with a pool points, right? With certain, and we, instead of abilities, we link these stratagem abilities to the ship. And once the ship's pool points are depleted, you could no longer call down those abilities. Like say a laser strike. I'm just making something up, right? A laser strike, and say a ship has 12 ship pool points, and each one of these stratagems costs 4 points or 3 points, whatever number we assign. Wouldn't it be easier to do it that way, or does that not make sense?
No, that one, like, that harks back to how Eric says he was running his thing. I don't know if that's exactly how he handled it, but that would be a cool way to do it, because in this way, you give a little, I guess it really depends on how much you want to put in your game. In Helldivers, you get to only pick 4 of these, right? But in your scenario where it's coming from the ship itself every single time, I mean, I guess it is coming from the ship again, but either way, this way you have a bigger list. You know, I can see that would be a little more fun in Cypher System. Like, hey, you have a bigger.
Like ciphers, right? Like every time one ability gets used, the player that uses it rolls on a chart and adds that new ability to the ship.
Well, let's do it this way, because I'm just brainstorming here. The idea what Eric said, okay, the
Cypher has a ship, so there's
so the ship has the sentence, the ship has all the abilities, right? So whatever 4 stratagems that you know, let's just say 4, 6, whatever, however many number we decide, but each of those stratagems have a point cost. And that point cost, once it's expended, and once that stratagem, much like a cipher, is expended, it can't be used again until you replenish the pool itself. So if you say, you know, I'm going to replenish, you know, we can still give you, you know, the same things, you know, and we could even have like certain stratagems. If they're like really super powerful, then they are connected to your 1 hour refresh or your 10-hour refresh versus your, you know, instant refresh. And in that way, you kind of have, you know, it becomes a strategy, a stratagem, you know, and when you use them, how you use them, because you're not going to necessarily have them all back at that time. And then I think the other thing, I think I saw Eric say something about XP being used to upgrade the ship. I would say XP could be used to upgrade the ship, you know, and those upgrades would be new stratagems or more stratagems or something like that. You know, if we're doing it as the one shot, as the the down and dirty.
I like that
makes
idea.
sense.
I also think too we could just take away ciphers from the characters and put the ciphers on the ships. So you could just pull another stratagem off a card. You know, it's like so easy on NVTT to just have a list of just like 40 stratagems, and every time they use one, right, or something happens in the game, you reward them with like pull a cipher card, which is essentially an ability for your ship.
That and another cool thing that I think because you kind of just triggered that is you can blow like say XP points instead of just getting stratagems. When you do that,
Hold on, Eric. Kezrak brought up a great point. To go inside with the game, once you complete one of the objectives, you get another stratagem. Like you pull another card. You understand? Because that makes it more like the game. Because isn't the game all about hitting objectives, Al?
Yeah, so the way you guys are going, you guys are going in a good direction. Yeah, the game is objective based, and using the stat pools as a resource to call down the stratagems is a really cool idea. I like that. I forget where I was going with this. No, you're right. Objectives, and I think it would be a cool idea to have like, because again, we're playing Cypher System, right? With a video game, everything is set in stone, so you know like what your ship is capable of. But if we're cipherizing it, I think that is a cool idea to say, hey, if you complete an objective, or because in Helldivers 2 there's also points of interest you can find on the map that have like weapons or resources or whatever, so that would be a cool idea. You find a point of interest or you complete an objective, you get to pull a cipher card and that gets added to your ship. That's not strictly a Helldivers 2 thing, but that is a cool cipher thing I think to add in a Helldivers game.
Well, how about this?
I'm assuming that the actual player characters that are on the ground fighting the bugs, the cipher rule might not necessarily apply to them. Like, I think equipment like grenades and all that, which would traditionally be a cipher, I think it would be kind of stupid to have it.
No, here's the thing.
They should be equipped with that sort of stuff.
Well, no, they'll be equipped with it, but here's the thing. Again, I agree that it should be limited, because that's a staple of the game. So as far as the ship is concerned, let's say we would make it again. You could make the stratagems. One of the stratagems would be an equipment drop, so that would be more ammo. Because we can put depletion rolls on weapons. You only got 3 grenades. They are one-use items, but you know what? You could say, oh shit, everything's getting fucked up.
I don't think we should put grenades in the cipher limit.
No, I'm not putting it in cipher. I'm saying no. You're missing. You're not letting me finish, and you're missing what I'm saying. I'm saying grenades, ammunition, more weapons. All of that would be an equipment drop, and that would be something that you would have to use a point. It might be just, it might cost 2 points to have an equipment drop, but when you have an equipment drop, you can't get another one for a set period of time. But that's where that would be enough to replenish all the players. So everybody, if you had a depletion roll on your gun and you were out of ammo, now I got a whole new weapon system. You could have.
You run out of ammo in the game?
Yes, ammo is a big part of the game. Yes,
ammo is a huge part of the game. So ammo. So I'm saying, so equipment wise, and with even like what Eric was saying about
that makes sense, Dean.
And then like Eric was saying about armor, like if they can only take 1 to 3 hits, or 1 to 4 hits of armor, guess what? When you get an equipment drop, okay, now everybody got their armor replenished. Stuff like that. But it would be a drop, and that would be okay. You can't get another one of these for an hour, or or until you replenish points.
All right, so let's see if chat and everybody, we in agreement then, right? We're gonna do quick, short cipher characters, like minimalize what the actual character has, right? Then we're gonna design. Is each player gonna have their individual ship or the party?
It'd be a party ship.
No, I mean it depends on how you want to do it. In Helldivers 2, each person has their own ship. So when I pick my 4 stratagems, you pick your 4, and he picks his 4. That would be a cool way to do it. I mean, that would be more in game to do it. But I could see having a team ship if you're playing like a campaign type thing and you're building up the ship over time. That would be a cool way to do a long-term campaign. But we're talking quick and dirty. So
each player having their own ship would be cool because then it'll allow us to design 5 or 6 different kinds of ships. Like styles of ships.
Yeah.
Like we could, for lack of a better term, we could design the explorer ship, the adept ship, the warrior ship.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I dig that.
It gives a little diversity in character creation since your character is so minimal.
But here's another cool aspect of what you just said, and that actually is great because what I would do is the same concept, but do it, video game style. The DPS, the controller, you know what I'm saying? So each ship would be that would be the style of ship. You'd have, your typicality of a MMO or whatever, those type characters, but you would turn those into the ships. So like I said, you have the DPS ship, the controller ship, the support ship, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, we can have 4 different styles of ships, so you could pick, and we'll still have, since we're doing the Cypher short characters, we could still do the medic character. Like we could do one of each character type.
So what we could do? So I didn't mean to cut you off. What you just said sparked an idea. In in this game, Helldivers 2, armors give you very small buffs. Like they're not big buffs at all. It's like increased armor. Like there's light, medium, and heavy armors, just like Cypher System, and just based. In their base stats, light armors obviously have the least armor, but you can run the fastest and the longest. Medium is in between, and then heavy armor, you run the slowest and the shortest, but you can take the most damage. With the Cypher short characters, we can assign the armor value to them, like that's their thing, and the buffs in the game are just very minor. Like you hold 2 extra grenades, you hold 2 extra stims, you hold, you have extra precision when crouched or whatever. I think that would be a cool way to make your Cypher short characters special. Would be the armor, which again, very easy to make a quick armor. There are only 3 classes, and the buffs are very easy to put in there. And on top of that, what we can also do, or it should be a part of this in some way, are the primary and secondary weapons, because each time you dive, your character always has that. That's not something they have to call in extra. They're always equipped with a primary weapon and a secondary weapon. So the Cypher short characters should have those in there somewhere as well, like their primary, secondary.
Your Cypher character is essentially just your type, right? A primary, secondary weapon, armor rating, and 1 ability.
I think that works out pretty good. I don't even think you need an ability. Again, this is Cypher System, so you want to throw an ability on there. But me personally, I probably wouldn't even give them an ability. But again, it depends on who I'm playing with and what we're trying to do. But I think that simple character of the character breaks down, the Cypher short character breaks down into primary, secondary, armor, and that's basically, and then the 1 ability from the type if you want to add that. Personally, I wouldn't, but I think that is a good addition if we're trying to play Cypher System.
I'm thinking, that those abilities should be influenced by the type of ship. So like if we did the thing, like I said, if we did a DPS ship, a tank ship, a such and such ship, then you'd get an ability based in that type of conceptualization. So like for example, a controller, instead of just a regular grenade, controllers might have stun grenades, and they can stun an area of people to control so for a couple of rounds you have your opponent's off kilter, but the DPS guy might have a long range sniper shot that he can do, So I think that would be kind of cool if we did something like that, or you could have a list of different abilities that came from each type of ship.
Dean, when you said DPS guy, you mean a DPS ship guy? Because I think it would be cool if I'm assuming since it's meat grinder, right? You have no set. You could pick your ship, but you're not gonna have any say on your character, right? So like you pick your ship. Say you, I like the DPS ship, right? You pick the DPS ship, but you wind up pulling the medic character, who's essentially an adept. You know what I mean? It has one ability, right? So you have the DPS ship with the adept character, which I like that. Like the trying to make it work, fit in.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. That would be cool. I mean, and you think about it, that would be the thing, though. All of those things would affect, the character, like you say, because you really don't have a say in how your character starts out. But what would be cool is that there would be a list of, additional abilities that are based in that realm. So, for example, let's just, and I'm just using regular terms from Cypher, but like you said, using an adept for the DPS character. So initially he has a sniper shot. His sniper shot is just essentially an onslaught attack, right? But you go along, okay, he survives. The next time around he gets a chance, and let's say either they give it randomly or you get it, but the next one, he gets might be cutting light. So it's an even more powerful version of his DPS shot. So we randomized, which gives you that.
What do you guys think of this? That recovery rolls are not allowed. The only healing is through like stems or some sort of like you shouldn't have recovery rolls. Or is healing very common in the game?
Yeah, you heal a ton.
I think recovery rolls themselves are going to be for the ship. That's how you're going to replenish the ship, the ship stratagems and so on and so forth that you call down. I think as far as healing for characters, it should just be the stim packs.
Yeah, I would say is like Dean was saying, this recovery rolls recover the ship's pools to use more stratagems or whatever we end up doing, and then the divers themselves, you need to use a stim and it just heals you to full. Like again, it depends on how we're doing the characters. I'm thinking of it the way Eric was running it, where each diver just dies in like 2 or 3 hits depending on their armor. In ours with the Cypher shorts, they have actual pools, right? It's not just one stat. Yeah, I mean, we could just have a stim be a recovery roll for the diver. Just you pull D6, whatever.
Here's the thing. That's what I'm saying. You think about it, okay? The divers have stim packs. So are we gonna call them? If we're giving them armor, is armor reducing? Is armor increasing the number of hits they can take? How are we going to handle armor?
So if we're doing with the standard Cypher short, let's ignore what Eric was doing because that got just in the back of my mind. We would just do it like normal armor because again, it's literally classified the same way: light, medium, heavy. Light reduces by 1, medium reduces by 2, heavy reduces by 3.
Yeah, I like the way Eric is describing it. It's not so much cipherized. And we're trying to cypherize it, so I would actually use because then we're going too far away from Cypher System.
Well,
I think I would go the way Al is suggesting.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Because if Eric is saying 2 or 3 hits, you're done. Are we going to give them actual pools?
No, you could accomplish the same thing by just giving every character a set number of pools. Like you could say, hey, you pulled a warrior character, and everyone gets 12 points. So the warrior gets 5, 4, 3. You know what I mean? And then we'll do the reverse for the speaker, as long as it's just 12 points.
But that's okay. But that's fine. Okay. So in other words, then, and the armor is going to do the same thing. So when you take a stem, the stem is going to replenish the pool points. That's what I needed to know. Now, here's the other thing, though. Are we going to have armor being depleted? Can it only take a certain number of hits before? Because that's what I was thinking about when I was saying with the equipment drops. you can get new equipment, you get more ammo, you get more armor, you get more.
It's like Starship Troopers. You get overrun by bugs, and when you get swarmed, chances are those 10 points are going to go away very quickly.
Oh, I know that.
You can't do your action recovery roll, and everyone starts the game with one stim. It's not like, I don't think it's going to go to that extent. I could be wrong.
No. I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is, do we want to add that element? Because you would also remember in Starship Troopers, in the movie Starship Troopers, when they got to that one base that had been overrun, and the one guy was hidden, and his armor was all mangled up. But when the new guys came, he got new armor. He was able to armor back up. So that's what I'm saying. Do we want to have that little element that, if you were to survive a swarm, that, okay, now when they call it, they can call me in some equipment. They can call in equipment and everybody can replenish. That's all I'm saying.
I kind of agree with like what Ken Help is saying. The more mechanics you add, you're just overcomplicating it.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, you're making an excellent point, Dean. I think it depends on the person running it and how much they want to track things, because again, if you want it to be more like realistic-ish, then yeah, armor can break. You got to get new armor from your drop, whatever. Armor does not break in Helldivers, because you just die and another diver comes down and they have their own armor.
That's what I mean. Like, even if we give the characters 12, might even be too many points. Then we give them 10 points divided amongst their 3 pools. Right,
I think that's too little.
And then they'll have armor, which is essentially the soak. Right, they'll have an armor. The heavy armor character, the most they're gonna have is what, a 4 soak, a 3 soak. So essentially, the heavy armor character is only gonna have 13 points.
No, he's not even gonna have 13
in
points.
one shot.
If you're taking 13 points and dividing a bunch. 10 points are divided amongst the 3 pools. I like how Eric said he gave it was 10, 10, 10. So 10 might, 10, speed, 10 intellect. I think that's like fair because you got to remember, we're talking about some really dangerous things. The monsters, the bugs, if they get on you, I mean.
I think the actual numbers we don't have to worry about now. That's more like in-depth if we want to run it. I think what it really boils down to is if you want to be true to Helldivers, the Helldivers need to be dying in like 3 hits or less. Like, it doesn't matter what the numbers play out to, like, because we can sit down and do that math if we need to, like considering armor and all that, whatever. But what it boils down to is 2 to 3 hits should be downing them.
We have to decide what we want, because I think there's like a disconnect. Like, I think I'm trying to think of the video game. Like, how am I going to recreate the video game? And I think Dean is thinking of how am I recreating Starship Troopers? You know what I mean? Which they're very similar, but they also, like, Starship Troopers had main characters that stood throughout so they actually were in every bit of the adventure. And I don't think the video game plays out like that. I think the video game plays out like, oh shit, my guy died, I'm gonna grab another character.
Yeah, and that's 100% how the video game is.
There's no right or wrong, because I think both of them are viable options. But I think we want to figure out beforehand exactly what we're trying to capture.
Well, again, what we're trying to capture is kind of like trying to capture lightning in a bottle, because I think everybody's going to view it through a different lens. You have some people
I'm sorry.
You have some people who are playing the game and they might have a character that's 50 or 60th level. That's a character that is endured. Whereas you or me, being new, we're going to have 25 different characters because we're going to die, within the first few minutes. And what I'm trying to capture is the idea that there's a possibility of enduring, but at the same time, it is deadly. It's dangerous. It's not just going to be a cakewalk. It's not your typical Cypher game. It's a more gritty version of Cypher, is what I was trying to capture. And that was my thought process with saying, do we want armor depletion, or do we want armor to be able to be replenished, or Something like that. That's all I was saying. So if I'm looking at it through the lens of a one shot, I agree with you. Do what you're saying. But if I was going to try to run something a little longer form, I would probably add something.
Cat Hub brought up a great point that maybe we shouldn't even use points. Just use the damage track. Every time you get hit, you go down the damage track.
And stems bring you back up. It brings you up. The stem can bring you up a level.
Yeah.
Now that way.
Hold on. Kazarek just pointed out as well. He said that it should be more important to capture the feel of the game rather than the mechanics, and I totally agree with that.
That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at, that aspect, because there is a possibility to survive, and make your way up the ranks to become a more powerful diver. And I think what Ken may have said may be the actual thing we do. Just use the damage track. Don't even worry about pool
or nothing.
Right.
You just essentially just have the damage track, and you have a set amount of stems, and every time you get hit, you go down the damage track. You can take a stem; it brings you up on the damage track.
That's basically how they work. In Helldivers, when you use a stim, it just heals you all the way. It heals your broken bones and limbs, because that's not a huge thing, but it is a mechanic in the game. Like, your limbs can get damaged, and it's harder for you to reload or harder for you to run. So yeah, that would be a good way to just up. Because again, we're playing Cypher System, so up one thing on the damage track would be a good way to do it.
And it's super easy because then we don't have to worry about stat pools.
Right, and here's another cool part that I'm just thinking about. Like we said, if we have the adept ship, then you know what, the adept ship may come equipped with, your character comes equipped. You come out with three stems, where everybody else comes out with two.
Yeah,
Figure out
that's actually really cool too. Yeah.
Yeah, that way we can, and that way, so we would have to give.
We tie all the abilities to the ship. We just give basic characters. So we go back to what Al said at the very beginning. The characters are just going to have the damage track, armor, and 2 weapon types. Nothing else. And then everything gets tied into the ship. So the adept ship, everything else gets tied into the ship.
I dig that idea a lot.
And if we do that, then of course, if we do if we just do 4 different types of ships, or however many types we decide to do, if you want to build them along the lines of, like I said, typical video game, whatever. But if it say the 4 types, there's something cool that comes by choosing what type of ship you're part of. So, like we said, adepts, maybe one of the cool things that they get is the fact that they get an extra stem. But
I mean, that we'll utilize we'll look at what each type does, like the core abilities, and then we'll sit there and come up with a dope, like a depth ship. Like, we'll come up with a cool name for each one of the 4 ships. We'll definitely give you 3 stems. You know what I mean? Like, that'll be like one of the things that you get from having that ship. That's not the abilities of the ship. That's just what you get from that.
That's just you being a crew member because of what the ship is built on. So then,
the what you call it, the adept could automatically get the explorer ship automatically gets fleet of foot. So you get a asset in all initiative rolls just by having that ship. So you're faster than everybody else.
Eric actually brought something up in the chat. Eric said boosts are dope. So basically, each ship also gives a boost. Gives you.
No, he's talking about boosts from the game, right? Isn't that from the game?
Boosts are a thing from the game. They're passive buffs that you pick at the beginning of your mission, and each player can pick one, but they affect the whole group. So essentially, if you have a full group of 4, you have 4 different boosts that are affecting your team. That would be a cool thing to add, I think.
I was saying, and add that to the ship. So each ship affords you a new boost, and I was just getting to. I think that would be like really another fun aspect to throw in here. So we know we're going to give them. We're going to build the ships based on types. Go ahead. I mean, Al.
Yeah, no. I was just gonna piggyback off what you're getting at was, each ship is a type, and a big part of Helldivers too. And again, this will require a lot of like in-depth homebrewing or crafting or whatever. But each ship would have the tier levels, like the tiers of the types, and you choose which ones, like which upgrades you're getting per ship. And that would be how your stratagems, your weapons, whatever. And yeah, I love that idea. That's excellent.
And boost. So
then you and I think we got the characters figured out a little bit. Let's not go like too in depth, so we're not spending the whole hour on one aspect. I want to move off. So I'll just summarize it real quick and let me know if I'm wrong. The ship itself is going to house. Each ship is going to be designed towards a type. It's going to have a pool of resources that it uses for its abilities, which are the abilities of the ship dropping, right? Each ship is going to give you, each type ship will have a specific ability that the player can use for free, as in the adept ship gives the character the ability to have 3 stems. The explorer ship gives the character the ability to have, say, be specialized in initiative or something like that. Right? Am I wrong so far?
no, I think we're all on the same report.
The game is going to be designed based on objectives. So, like, say, a 4-hour adventure will have 4 objectives. The only time a ship can replenish its pool to continue using is by accomplishing an objective. Are we all in agreement on that?
No, that's
So
a
yeah,
very
that will
way
be
to do
full
it.
recovery rolls. And I think,
Go ahead.
no, I'm saying I think that's great. If you accomplish objective, then you get to do a recovery.
Yep. The characters themselves are going to be extremely minimal. There'll be no pool points. It'll just be a damage track with an armor type, with 2 weapon types, and I guess a minor equipment list. That's it.
But minor equipment, well, you got to remember the other thing that they're going to get to keep them in line with their ship is what Eric was saying. So, and I was talking about the boost. So they should all have at least 1 boost that they can use to affect the party, but they can only use it once until the ship is replenished.
Okay.
So they get a boost. They all get like we said, a single ability that is unique to the type of ship they come from.
Manilu, the reason why we're trying to give it ship types, because we want to at least cipherize it somewhat. We don't want to get so far away from the actual Cypher System game where then we should have just ran it in Aliens.
Here's another thing to say doing it by the ship type. The ship type is only for us to have our cipher aspect, to have a sentence. The ship type is really only denoting what your Helldiver is, and it's giving you all the things that the Helldiver is, but we're breaking it down, moving it away from having to have a full-on character, because when you have a full character, 99% of the time, everybody wants to see their character continue. But by turning it towards the ship, the objectives from the ship and the characters are being dropped, with these abilities. You're technically playing a Helldivers game, because that's kind of what happens in the game.
Mm. And once again, there's no right or wrong answer, because we're just like basically BSing our way through this, trying to figure it out.
Well, see, and it's nice actually looking at things with the audience too, like people who've done stuff already. Like Eric was just saying, characters that lived long enough, they survived. He gave them a specialization and a skill. So one character was a dodger, and others were extra, shooters. Some could sink grenades at a farther range. All this kind of stuff. So I think that is keeping in line to how the game works as your character progresses, because these are the kind of things you get. But again, the stratagems that Al and everybody are talking about are directly connected to the ship, and it's something that you're continually looking for.
Manalu, your opinion is absolutely valid. So
absolutely, yeah, we're not saying
no need to say who you are, or because once again, none of us here think we're right in any way. So I keep on giving us your ideas, because it can absolutely change our way of doing this. This is just the way we're seeing it, right? So I don't want you to think that it's like we overriding anything you're saying, because that's not the case.
In Mello, I don't know if you've watched any of our videos, but it's rare that me and Anthony aren't even going back and forth. It's like we do this all the time, and it's not that either one of us feel we're right or wrong. We just bounce ideas, and we're real passionate about what we're talking.
You brought up a good thing. How do we capture the loadout feeling, right? So when you die, right? You don't keep the same ship, right? You randomly grab another ship?
No, so what it is each mission you pick 4 stratagems, and those are your 4 for the whole mission. The way I would do it in Cypher System is what we're talking about the same way, basically, is your ship, your abilities, you unlock them as you go, or, they become your stratagems, I guess, in this version. And then each mission, instead of having access to all the things you've unlocked, you pick 4 of them. And that's your 4 for the mission, or your 6 or whatever, like whatever number we decide on for Cypher System. Yeah, so that's how you would capture the loadout feeling. Your ship is unlocking all this shit as you go, but you're only picking 4 or 5 of them each time you go into a mission.
Oh, okay.
And here's another.
How do you tier up in the game?
That's what I was just getting ready to talk about, Anthony. Perfect.
How do you what?
Perfect question.
How does tiering up work?
Gearing up?
Tiering up. Going to the next tier.
There's no real levels in the game. I don't know how Helldivers 1 was, because, again, I didn't really play it.
Well, ship upgrades is your leveling.
Yes, ship upgrades would be your progression in this format.
So that's what I was going to hit on. What I was going to say is tiering up would give you access to more powerful stratagems. Again, like you were saying, you only have access to 4 at any given time. But let's just say you go to tier 2. You have access to 4 stratagems. Now here comes the reality of it. Do I want 4 brand new, more powerful stratagems, or is that one low-level stratagem still going to be something I need? Is it still useful? So you can pick and choose, and then you'll just have, access to greater strategies.
I want to make it quick and dirty, Dean. And I understand where you're going, but like, if the GM in me, right, is thinking, if every time someone tears up and we have to stop the game for you to pick 4 more abilities, it's just going to be too much.
Again, what aspect are you coming from? Because if you're talking one shots, you're not stopping anything. If you're talking a campaign, then this is going to happen when characters tier up. It's going to be in between, so it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So your quick and dirty is never going away. Your quick and dirty is there because you have 4 stratagems. And
I thought every time you accomplish and I could be wrong, but I thought every time you accomplish an objective, right? And I'm assuming that a regular session is going to have multiple objectives in it. You replenish your pools and tear up the ship, or am I wrong?
Upgrades are all over the place throughout the game. You can do.
I mean, I never played the game, so I'm going to rely on what Al said.
Specifically in Helldivers 2, you upgrade between the missions. So in the mission, you're not changing anything. Okay. In both styles of play, you pick your 4, whatever.
Because it makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm saying because if I'm doing a one shot, then guess what? The ship is established. It is what it is. That's it. You got 4 objectives. Those 4 objectives is going to get you to the end. The end of the story. If I'm doing, like we were talking about, I'm going to do a more full-on campaign, then yeah, we're gonna handle ship upgrades in between, game time.
And in Helldivers 2 specifically, or for running this type of game, I wouldn't even have tiers specifically be a thing, if that makes sense. Your ship would get better. You would get better quote unquote, but there wouldn't be any number tiers because you're unlocking your kit, your toolkit, basically, right? Because remember, each dive you're going in with only 4 or 5 of these things that you're unlocking, so you don't want to do it by level, if that makes sense. Even though it is gated by level within the game, like within the mechanics of Helldivers 2, I feel like a better way to do it is you have a set list, like, hey, the adept ship has, this is their thing, this is their ability list, these 4 unlock from the get-go, you have to gather resources to unlock the rest, and then you pick from that set list of the ones you've unlocked.
I didn't know if it was tearing up during an actual game, but if it's the way you described and what Dean said makes the most sense.
And you just gave me a great idea. You just literally opened up a basic floodgate, because literally the upgrades could be just like it is in the Cypher System rulebook with abilities: low tier, mid tier, high tier, abilities. And then you could also throw in like a special unlock, maybe it gives you an additional stratagem slot, where you can have 5 stratagems on your ship or something. They call that a premium or whatever, a premium unlock. Stuff like that. I think that would be a lot of fun to be able to set your game, up like that, and then you could just have people dropping in.
We're already an hour in, so let's move on. I think we have a basic idea.
Well, here's something I think Manilu missed that. He said, I really feel you should have a revisit to refresh encounter rows. There have been many combats where I've dropped multiple rail cannon strikes on a Bio Titan or Chargers. It feels clean and simpler. Well, that's what we were saying about having the refresh rolls.
No, not only that, the ship itself is going to have a pull point.
Right.
Even though it has 4 abilities, right? You could use, it's like having an ability on a character. You could spam the same ability until your pool runs out.
If you look at
if rail cannon strikes are one of the abilities, right? And your ship has 10 pull points, you could do that ability 4 times and then exhaust your pull points. So you could.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up too. We're talking about Cypher. I don't know if anybody knows it, but in Numenera, in the data sphere book, when you go into the data sphere, all your pools combine into one pool, and you're just drawing points from one pool. So what you're saying, Anthony, makes perfect sense. The ship has one pool. They got a number of recovery rolls. They can only do recovery rolls in between completing objectives. So that's your refreshes. And with everybody's, I think we got a good baseline to work from. I could see this working out.
Honestly, I could take what we've talked about, this, like, just ignoring what, like, even though we kind of based our idea off of what Eric is our inspiration for this idea with the ships, because let's be straight up, we saw it was an excellent idea, we ran with it. Let's be real, that's a hallmark of RPGs. You see a great idea, you run with it, even if it wasn't your idea originally. But what I'm getting at is just basically all of what we've said right now. I could take this and run either a campaign style or a one-shot dirty meat grinder. Like,
I think Manalu explained himself a little better. I think, and once again, I haven't fully played the game, so if I'm wrong, just let me know. I think he means that rail cannon strikes are super powerful, right? Of course. And in my mind, we're going to have to tone it down where one ship ability is not going to be able to eliminate an encounter. Because I know it's based on a video game, but we're still playing an RPG. Well, so we can't totally like, I'm dropping the nuke on them, objective over. Because you still have to, the RPG aspect has to kick in where, we can't make the ability so powerful that it's a catch-all to anything the GM is throwing at you.
Here's something else, and this is the other aspect of it. I would never, as far as the way I'm looking at it, is there's enough pool points for the ship stratagems. They could use all 4 stratagems. There's enough pool points to use all 4 stratagems.
At least once.
To complete, no, that's it. You can use it once. It's enough points for you to complete.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, during that objective, you can use it. So you can't replenish them. You can't spam that ability. Now there may be other abilities, smaller abilities that you might want, like we were saying before. Maybe we.
You should be able to use the same ability twice because that's how it is in the game.
No, it's
So
not.
the way it is, and I agree with Manny, just to shorten her name, I agree with Manny there, that cooldowns are a big part of the game because you need to like take your time between encounters, like fighting, because your things might be down. Like you don't want to run into a big ass giant. They're called bio titans, or if we're talking about the bugs, you don't want to run into that when you don't have your rail cannon strike or your orbital strike or whatever, right? This is
So
where
you can only use one ability once. I thought he said
no.
that.
So you use them and they have a cooldown, right?
There's a cooldown time, and I was just using completing the objective as a cooldown time is what I was saying. So you can replenish.
Me too. I agree with you, but the way we replicating that is that if you only have like every combat scene isn't going to be an objective. You're going to have 4 objectives or 3 objectives or whatever it is in your 4-hour session, right? Whatever you pre-plan as the GM, right?
Let Al's got something.
Again, I don't know much about this because I have not played any Blades in the Dark, which is big on clocks. Yes, I think that's the right game. I think we can take clocks and attach them to stratagems. What ticks down the clock, we would have to tweak, whether it's rounds or objectives or whatever. And then, more powerful stratagems obviously will have a bigger clock, and, the weaker ones will have a smaller clock. And I think that would be a good way to do it. But again, we would have to tweak that around a little bit, but I think that's a simple way to handle a cooldown on the stronger stratagems. And again, it's not technically core Cypher mechanic or anything, but I think that would be I think that would be a great way to do the cooldowns.
Like I said, I think a cooldown to me is no different than saying a recovery in between. So I can definitely get with the clock aspect. I think that's like really a useful thing. And what I was saying, Anthony, yes.
And I understood what you meant, Dean, because I was on the same page. If they only have enough abilities to do, if you only essentially got enough pool points to do 4 of all 4 abilities at least once, right? It's going to deplete quickly.
And look at it this way. So, like we were talking about the rail cannon strike. Well, let's just say let me just use a number. I'll throw a number out there. Just say we have 30 points. Okay, you got 30 points in your pool, but we say the rail cannon strike is like the most powerful low-level thing, but that costs 15 points. If you blow 15 points on the rail cannon, then you may not have enough points, to do this other one, or what I'm saying. But you definitely couldn't do the rail cannon, 5 times, or every time and just spam it, because it's going to cost you. So, that way, again, and then what Al was saying with the clocks, the cooldown. Hey, the rail cannon is cooling down. You can't use it again until this clock ticks 12 or whatever. And I think it would be like real cool like that. The clock would tick down, and that's when you could take a refresh, that's when you could take a refresh, or you get a refresh on it, or whatever.
Manny basically is saying that a good way to keep track, or I guess cooldown, whatever, would be using a depletion dice, so to speak, where when you use a stratagem, you roll the associated dice, and after that many turns, it comes back up. That would be a cool way to increase tension on the spot, because with clocks you kind of know, and again, this is more in line with Helldivers, because the timers, you can literally open your HUD and see, hey, my shit's coming back up in 30 seconds. But to gamify it more, make it more of an RPG and add that tension to the situation, that might be a cool way to do it too. Again, we would have to play with the idea what stratagem constitutes what, dice size or whatnot. But I think that's a cool idea too.
All right, yeah. Let's move on a little bit because we're running out of time. Yeah. What other aspect of the game do you want to tackle I think that after this video is done, we'll open up a channel. We'll invite everybody from the stream on, and we'll brainstorm as a community. And I'd love to play in this.
I would say we'll open a thread and then people can join the thread. But as far as other things to incorporate from this, I think, and again, we can't do a super deep dive, but there's a lot of like gray area lore stuff. Like, are we the bad guys? Are we the good guys? Like, again, I'm not trying to speak treason here. I'm talking out of a character. What you call it? And that would be a lot of fun to play with, I think. How the ministries interact with each other, if they're opposed or whatever, if they're working together, what actually is the truth, like, are we the good guys, are we the bad, like, I think all that stuff would be fun to play with within an RPG setting, and you would base the objectives off these things, and within the objectives you can kind of add these little gray area moments, like you encounter an automaton who's not shooting at you, he's kind of trying to talk to you or something, like, you know what I mean, like, and again, the game tells you, there's a little like pop-up, like when you're loading, it says ignore diplomacy, like if any enemy tries talking to you, kill him. Like, diplomacy is not an option. So that adds like a sort of gray area type situation for an RPG. Like, that sort of stuff I would love to play with, and that's not really something we can convert, so to speak. Like, that's just something you as the GM you look at the little nuggets in the lore and see how you want to incorporate those nuggets into your objectives, into your missions, to kind of give it that better RPG feel, not just a simulationist, I'm here to shoot stuff and get rewards type deal.
Ketup made a great point. Ketup made a great point. He said, most important, the GM is now Joel. So no, I was just saying that really works out, because the players are the ships, they got the Helldivers, we're being Joel, so we're setting everything up. And what Al was saying, I think for the tension, I think it just all goes together. I think it works. So yeah.
Chat was saying let's, because we want to, I hate to be the stickler on the time, but let's start tackling the monsters. Because they mentioned hives, robot factories, and spawning enemies. Let's talk about that a little bit before we run out of time.
So for that, right? Again, I have them pulled up here too. We have a lot of resources, right? That can give us monsters or creatures if we just need something that we can throw the divers at, right?
The new bestiary has bugs already.
Did I have that open? Right? Yeah, there it is. But what I would do personally, and again, this is me personally, because you know what kind of GM we are, I would just look at the enemy list and literally just craft a stat block for each of them, within Cypher System. Because there are
what kind of, like, for lack of a better term, what kind of cool shit do the monsters do?
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that would be the abilities that you would see, right? So for instance, there's the little guys, like the grunts, so to speak, right? They just kind of, if we're talking about bugs specifically, they just kind of try to swarm you, right? Then we have the bugs that can jump really far and get you really quick, like they're far away 1 minute next, they're next to you. All these things can just be like, yeah, we're crafting a stat block, it'd just be the ability to have. There actually aren't a ton of unique enemy types within each faction. I would say maybe 6 or so different ones, so it wouldn't be hard to just craft them uniquely for your own games. But yeah,
would definitely be using swarm rules, right?
Yes, that's something we would have to look up and figure out a good
are going to definitely be important. And I would say,
they said there's invisible ones.
Yes, there's invisible ones. There's armored guys. There's like really tall ones that shoots acid at you. Like, all that stuff is, again, in my head, you can see that on a screen. Like, let's say I'm playing Helldiver, I see the Bile Titan spitting acid. In my head, I already ciphered that. Like, that's easy as hell to cipher. Like, so yeah, I would just look at the game's monsters and just whoop.
And so, and in that respect, what I was saying, exactly, that's really the essence of bringing the essence of the game, and that's definitely like strong for a one shot. Where I would probably start jumping into the books for like different kind of things and stuff would be for those more long form games you're going to run, and those would be things of intrigue. Maybe, you find out, kind of like they did in Starship Troopers, that there was a brain bug. You know what I'm saying? There's something behind the scenes that is going to get more into the lore and the intrigue, the reasons why, the Helldivers could actually be the bad guys, and so on and so forth.
I think when it comes to creature design, and I know I've been the meat grinder, like quick and dirty thing. I kind of, I'm all on board with Dean on this one. I think you really need to flesh them out, because the one problem with like just saying, hey, I'm just gonna quick and dirty these creatures, you run the risk of, even in a one shot, you run the risk of everything seeming samey. You know what I mean?
I would for sure create my own special guys, for sure. Yeah. But to have a base to work off of, like, that's easy. And then you create a couple of special guys to make your campaign, your one shot, nice and exciting. You add that new unknown element.
You bring up a great point, because that was a big conversation in Claim the Sky channel. Was literally about, do you put mooks in your game? And that's with the smaller, with the can bugs that I was talking about. That was kind of what I was saying. You got the can bugs that everybody knows about, but then of course there's that one thing you never thought you were going to counter, like you were saying, or the weird automaton that's now talking to you, or I know they got the killer robots and stuff, but what if one day in the game all of a sudden you encounter a bunch of cyborg Helldivers? They got the same kind of tech on them that the robots do, but but you can tell that they're also Helldivers. They were Helldivers. That would be like,
since we using the damage track to use damage,
mm-hmm.
we could have the small, like, lack of to use what's the D&D 4th edition term, the what the hell were they called? Minions. Like, the minions, it takes 2 million hits to knock you down the damage track.
Right.
But some of the heavy creatures will knock you 2 levels down the damage track. And, you could play around that way, which would be very interesting.
Go ahead, Al.
No, I was going to say, to hark back to chat here for a second, because we're talking about creatures, a big part of the game is things spawning, like just enemies spawning, right? So bugs have hives and the automatons have fabricators or factories. And I think a cool, all basically missions have the objective to destroy these along the map. You just find them and destroy them. And they're not the main objective. They're just something you do while you're doing your objective. What would be cool for that is, since we already talked about clocks, is setting these hives and fabricators on a clock. Like, hey, at this time, they're all going to spawn a thing, like a wave of enemies, so you got to go destroy it before that clock ticks down.
What do you think of this? Why don't we tie in horror mode to spawning?
That's a good one, too.
Every time somebody rolls a 1, it spawns. Now, every time somebody rolls a 1 or a 2, we get an additional spawn.
That
every time
works.
somebody rolls a 1, 2, or 3, we get additional spawn.
And that works well within the frame of the game, because as you if you're not, I guess it depends on how you're tracking it, but as the mission progresses, the waves do come more frequently. Like, there's more patrols, there's more just enemies all around the map.
So we could tie horror mode into spawning.
It would just be like spawn mode or something, like spawn rate or whatever. Like, we call it the spawn rate.
But here's even cooler. We could actually, like you were saying, tie it to if I was tied to the dice roll, but if they roll a natural 20, they could have additional damage, they could have a special effect, or they could pull back the range of the spawn.
Or they could reset it. One of the options would be reset it back to 1.
Or something like that, yeah. That could be an option. We could do it that way, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, that's a cool idea. I like that a lot.
So, yeah, we can add, I think... all right, Al.
That'd be great.
We need to put this together, and then we should run a Helldivers.
I think we have a decent enough shell that we could
run games on this, no problem. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I will touch on this though real quick, because we didn't touch on it at all during our talk, and Manny Lou just brought it up. there's a lot of other secondary, like smaller objectives you can do on the map. Like there are structures both within the bug faction and the robot faction that you have to complete to make sure they're not as strong. For instance, like the bots have a like airship like factory, so you have to destroy the airship factory and then airships stop spawning, like things like that.
It would be cool if we get a big ass map, right? Like we'll get a big ass map off the internet, or like somebody will find a big map, right? And then we'll post it in the room, and then we'll carve it out amongst 8 or 9 of us, right? Like, hey, this is your section of the map. This is your section of the map. This is Dean's section. You know, this is Manny's section. This is KenHub's section. And each of us do like 4 objectives in that little session. We'll write up what, the, you know, like a brief description of what the objections are.
Objective, yeah.
Then we will run it like a you know, like mini sessions, and everyone to play like someone else's you know,
right. You make a party of everybody else
Yeah.
involved, and we play the different objectives. I like that. And another idea that I was having when you were talking about that would be like when you brought up the smaller objectives, Al. That would be really cool, because you could tie that into like if they, you know, got say they got to the bug spawning pool. I mean the bug harvesting where the eggs are or something like that, right? So what that would do, that would actually, like you said, it slowed down their production, or let's say it altered how they spawn. So for example, if you could shut down the bug thing, instead of them coming spawning and they are just say arbitrary level 5 swarms, but you got rid of that, so now they can only make level 3 swarms.
That's a cool idea too. I dig
You
that.
know, so like
objective should, the minor ones should be random.
Those are mini objectives. Those are mini
That's what I
objectives.
mean. I think they should be random. Like I think that. Like,
Oh, that's a cool idea. So let me expand upon that, because
just have a deck and you
Yeah.
pull out random.
that's
objective.
perfect. So the way that's awesome for within the game too. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just a very exciting idea. When you go to boot up your objective, right? You in this scenario you're talking about, we're all crafting our own little section, right? So we craft our own little section. It has the main objective and whatever other little things we want to put around the map, right? But when we go to dive, like let's say actually play that section, there's a deck for for enemy stuff, like enemy structures, and there's a deck because there are friendly structures too. Those friendly structures are objectives you complete that make you stronger. They take longer to do, but you have now access to more things like an artillery strike or something like that. And I think that is a super cool idea. You just start with a deck of both those things, and you just pull 3 or 4, whatever mission we're doing is. You take that many of each, and those are the random elements for that section. And it's exactly like when you dive into a map in Helldivers 2, you don't know anything about the mini objectives. You know only the main objective. You might see a glimpse, and this would be a cool like Cypher thing where if you do like a good navigation roll, you get a peek into it, and you could like draw a card early and prepare, right? So when you sometimes dive, you will see one of the sub objectives, so you can kind of plan for it. And I think that would be a cool Cypher thing too. You send your navigator, hey, go check the comms or whatever, and they come back like, oh, I only saw this one, and then the other ones are all random when you dive. Oh, that's a cool ass idea. Sorry.
You know, from a GM perspective, you can have the players pull an objective, you pull an objective. You know, so like you'd be like, hey, just pull this deck, pull a card for this deck. You pull a card for the deck. You know one that they know one from the beginning of the game because they pulled it.
Yeah, I mean that's good. I think that's good. But I really like what Al was saying, that if they get a good, you know, the navigator gets a good orbital position, or we have some guy doing scanning, the guy who does the scanning, you know, he, you know, does a great scanner roll. You have him make that roll, perception roll, you know, for the ship, and it's a great roll. So yeah, now you get to pull your card early, and you get to make alterations or preparations in your plan to get this mini objective. But the rest of the objectives only you know as the GM. You got them, and they're on the
That's what I
side.
mean about the player rolling. I was agreeing with what Al said about the players rolling an object.
Then we all on the agreement.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's a fucking awesome idea. I need to write that down. Remember, I'm more of a memory guy, but that's up here. Like that is stellar.
We're gonna actually, I think, and Anthony, I think you
I
gotta.
agree with what Al said, and then he repeated to say the same exact thing I said.
I think what you said.
Yo, West
We need
March,
to
yeah,
map.
this is the perfect West March.
Yeah, this is a super good West March idea. Awesome.
So Anthony,
No,
I think
I think we might have the first. Remember, we were trying to come up with a CU West March.
This would be an awesome one. This would be a good one.
Yeah.
so.
I'm actually going to think on this. I'm actually going to put thought into this because
You know
that's a fun idea.
If we find a map, or I have what's the name on here, I can make.
This is Eric. That's Eric. That's our boy. He's a map maker. Eric, yo, hook us up. Okay.
Chad already said that there's downloadable.
Yeah, we can find all that content, those assets. Yeah, there is a galactic map, and each of the worlds has continents or whatever that you deploy on, and you can download those like outlines or whatever, and kind of grid it out if you really wanted to do that. That would be pretty easy to do.
Yeah, Ken, he said he can make it nice and pretty and drop it as a free thing.
I think that sounds like a lot of work, but this is a very solid game idea. I think.
Without further ado, guys, I think we have enough between the chat and the three of us that we should go ahead, set up the parameters, and do like you said, Anthony. We'll get 6, 7 people, whatever, and we'll just have little maps with objectives and everything. Is run
It sounds
by that
mad
person.
fun.
I agree with what Ken helped for. First and foremost, we got to solidify the rules.
Yes,
Once
that
we
needs to
solidify
happen.
the rules, then we'll
We're
go.
gonna do that. We'll off air, me, you, and Al, with everything that we got here. The chat is there.
I think we brainstormed this, but this is I think community. This is more of a community thing. I think that we open it up to the community so we can actually be a more complete rule set. Like this is not something that's going to be public.
I'm gonna tell you.
We open it up to everybody, and then we'll be in agreement.
I'm going to say this to you, Ant, and I'm saying this with all the love that I can give you. No, we're not going to do that, because when you open it up to the community, we're going to get 7,000 different aspects, and you're going to get arguments on so much. Me and Ketchup, we're going through that with trying to come up with doing a strange, I believe it was a strange like that. And it
I
just
meant by the community, I didn't mean all 7,000 people. I meant that we'll get
A select tribunal.
First of all, I don't think it's fair that these people that were in chat, that we use some of their ideas and then you're going to turn around and say no. And two is we don't own this IP. It's not like who are we to say that we can't. We got to stop other people from doing it.
No, we're not stopping anybody. But I'm talking about what we're going to decide upon. Okay, if you want to get a tribunal together or whatever, some more people in, that's fine. But I'm talking about what I've gone through already. Okay, and the point is, we're not telling anybody they can't. But if you're going to be a part of what Cypher System is doing, Cypher Unlimited is doing, that's us. That's all. That's different.
Yo, you heard about that Mickey Mouse IP? You can't use it.
No, I'm telling you can't use it. We just don't care what you're doing. We're going to do everything. Here we go. Me and you, boy. Me and you.
No, but what I'm saying is that we'll get, everybody that inputted ideas should still be involved in the input. Like this is not something we own. And matter of fact, if we want to be honest, Ken Up has been working on a HELLDIVERS Cypher version before this.
Facts. Facts.
No, I'm not arguing that point that other people haven't. I'm not telling anybody they can't. All I'm saying is what we were talking about. If we were going to do something with a big map and we were going to be involved in it,
we're gonna come up with the shell because we're gonna use our ship idea as the shell.
Right, I'm not saying that either. And I'm just looking at, okay, even if you just said everybody who is in the chat right now, if we said everybody in the chat right now, I'm like, great, that's awesome. The minute we put it on the channel, it gets unruly with the
We
number of
need
suggestions.
faith in humanity, man. Have some faith in humanity. Believe in the power of the people. Believe in the. Can I get an amen? Can I get a hallelujah? Hallelujah.
I'm just doing the Helldiver
Believe in
salute.
the power of the people.
You do know what that is.
Oh, can I get a hallelujah?
I'm just doing the Helldiver salute. That's my hallelujah.
You gotta believe in the super earth.
I do. And this is why I'm going to be Joel. I'm going to be the evil overlord behind. I didn't say that. You know,
I mean, it's already 11:30, guys. I think we kind of beat this horse to death. I think we have a good idea for a game, and I'm excited to see what. Don't worry, we won't invite Dee to the room. We'll have two rooms, one with Dee in it and one without him. And we'll get the game going. Final thoughts, Dee?
Helldivers, raw RPG, cipherized, coming to a Discord near you.
No, I'm excited for this idea. It's all the stuff. Like I had we talked a little bit before the stream, and I had a couple of like basic ideas, but all the stuff that we cobbled together along with the chat is a stupendous idea. I love this.
You hear Ketup? Ketup said that we should call it. Somebody was talking about different names. They said call it Hades jumpers, heck hoppers, and Ketup said call it Cypher Unlimited Deployable Democratic Liberating Enforcement, or Cuddle.
That's a good one. Ooh, but I think we're good here.
We're good.
If you like us and you like what we do, join the Cypher Unlimited Discord server for all things Monty Cook games. We have the largest fan-run Discord server for everything MCG. Go down there, join some games, maybe play some Helldivers, with or without Dean, we don't know yet. Or if not, join our Facebook group. It's not as big as our Discord, but there's still great conversations being had there every day. If you give us a like, share, and subscribe here on Twitch, or go to our YouTube channel and do the same. We're still trying to build both those platforms up, so any help you could give us would be greatly appreciated. Go to our online store and pick up some cool Cypher Unlimited merch like the shirt D got on or the hat I got on. Our videos are always free, but if you want to help us out financially in any way, you can give us a little donation on Ko-fi. And last but not least, we love you guys.
Yep, thank you guys so much for coming on or coming around to chat with us. This was an awesome talk. We need to do this with more games, honestly, because we can, I think, build out some stellar ideas from video games or movies or whatever. This was a nice little rap session. I think good stream.
More movies now.
We need to watch Starship Troopers for sure at some point.
It's worth mentioning that there's never any right or wrong answers to these.
Right, oh no, yes, 100%. Like,
hella fun.
This is our take, and there's every take is valid. Like, however is most comfortable or makes most sense to you to run, do it that way. This is just how we vibed with it.
And I'll get Starship Troopers set up. We'll do it through Discord.
Movie
this
night.
weekend. This weekend.
I'm down. I don't think I got nothing going on.
It's happening. You down, Ed?
Yeah, actually, I'm playing the Ken Hubs game on Sunday, so as long as it's not Sundays.
We'll make an announcement and we'll put it up. Movie night with Ancient Albatross. You know, classics that Ancient Albatross hasn't watched yet.
But either way, yes, we do that. We should do that. But yeah, if our idea is different from what you may have pictured in your head, don't let that discourage you. We're not the end-all be-all of creatives, and there's a million different ways to do the same idea. So you do you. And with that being said, from us at the CU, we will see you later. Peace.